Well, hello everyone. This is John Foley, and today I'm going to do my second part on third wave theory about how we got here. And this is basically going to discuss the baggage as a society we hold on to as we linger with second wave ideas and concepts. And so we'll dive deep into this topic now. So first off, remember when I talked about first wave society being the ancient world and medieval world, agricultural based, and that's because production and consumption were fused together. You basically made your own stuff for the most part. Then you get into second wave where second wave industrial society wiped all that out, and the whole idea was to separate consumption and production. Basically got rid of self-sufficiency, if you want to think it that way. So second wave civilization, even if you were a farmer, you were no longer self-sufficient because you had a tractor and you had to get parts and you had components that you could not make for your tractor, unlike a plow. So, and then again, the precondition for any civilization is the drive for energy. So in the first wave civilization, you had animal power, you had human power. Then you get into second wave civilization, and now you get the rise of coal, oil, gas, basically all your fossil fuels. Another thing we need to talk about is markets, because there's a lot of misconception about markets. And we need to realize that markets are nothing more than an exchange network. There is nothing inherently capitalist about a market. They are just essential in socialist industrial societies as they are in a capitalist industrial society. And basically the explosive expansion of markets basically contributed to the fastest rise in standard of living the world had ever experienced. And again, second wave split between production and consumption. The nuclear family was a streamlined family unit. Unlike the first wave society, the second wave society couldn't be burdened with elderly relatives or sick and handicapped family members. The creation of the nuclear family was so no unencumbered relatives would interfere with the industrial worker. This is why nursing homes were established. The second wave also made no room for single parents or same-sex couples. The second wave society also created a covert curriculum for mass education, and this was built on the factory model. The covert curriculum stressed punctuality, obedience, rote repetitive learning, and of course standardized tests. The school bell was a tool to condition them for the factory work. Even today, we have vastly increased our knowledge of how the brain learns that run contrary to this second wave education model, but you still see people clinging to this old model. And then you get the great, what I call capitalist contradiction, the cleavage between the roles of producer and consumer, the dual personality. Because if you're the worker, the producer, you're supposed to be disciplined, defer gratification, obedient, and restrained. But then on the flip side, they want you to be a consumer who wants instant gratification, and you're hedonistic, and you seek individual pleasure. The home life in first wave society was fused with the work life, but second wave basically wiped that out. There are five main components to second wave society, and that is centralization, standardization, synchronization, concentration, and maximization. So centralization often was in the form of government, where you had a centralized government. Then you get into standardization, which allowed companies to grow and standardize, but then it gets into school testings were standardized, and even repressing minority languages around the world became standardized. Mass production required standardization. And then you get synchronization. Time equals money. Can't have idle machines. Punctuality was never important in first wave society. Now it was critically important. second wave society also put importance on clocks and watches, 9 to 5, and a family routine. Then you get into concentration in second wave society, totally dependent on the concentration of fossil fuels, for example, concentration of populations in urban centers, the great incarceration of prisons, lunatic asylums, and even schools on the factory model, and then workers in the factories themselves. And this was the same in both capitalist and socialist Marxist systems. And then you get maximization. So GNP, it doesn't matter if you're producing food, healthcare, or munitions, but only the fact that you're measuring it on a market exchange. Now look at the middle picture. How do we measure the value of this mother? The second wave society has no measurement, that is, of this vital unpaid production of child raising and housework. The cultural face of industrialism, society of big organizations, big cities, centralized bureaucracies, all-pervasive marketplaces, whether capitalist or socialist, dovetail perfectly with the new energy systems of that time. Family systems, technological systems, economic systems, political and value systems that form the second wave. It is this entire civilization taken together along with its institutions and technology and culture that is now disintegrating under an avalanche of change as the third wave surges across the planet. We live in the final, irretrievable crisis of industrialism.